Larry Bird is one of the most documented players in NBA history. Decades of highlight reels, championship runs, MVP seasons, and that legendary rivalry with Magic Johnson. Most basketball fans feel like they've seen it all when it comes to Larry Legend. But underneath all of that are stories that never made the highlight packages. Stories told by teammates, opponents, and coaches. Moments that happened in practice gyms, on team flights, in locker rooms, and in the middle of games that nobody was paying attention to at the time. Stories about what it was actually like to be in the room with him, to compete against him, to play alongside him for a decade, and still not fully understand him. These are the stories that live in podcasts, in old interviews, in the memories of the people who were actually there, the ones that don't get repeated nearly as often as they should. Some of them are funny, some of them are humbling. All of them add another layer to who Larry Bird really was, on and off the court. If you think you know everything about Larry Bird, stick around. You probably don't. Larry Bird's 60-point game against the Atlanta Hawks in 1985 is still one of the most jaw-dropping individual performances in NBA history. But for Doc Rivers, who was on the floor that night, the scoring wasn't even the most memorable part. It was everything Bird was saying while he did it, to Dominique Wilkins, to the Hawks bench, to anyone within earshot. Rivers has told this story for decades because it captures something that stats alone never could. Here's his account of that night.
Bird got his own, and he started calling shots. He started saying off the glass. That was the one game that I think he tortured Dominique. He saw Dominique, this up-and-coming player, and he just tortured him mentally. That game, he tortured all of us. He was calling shots off the glass. Who's next? Where you want this one from? And he just made one after another. When he got to about the 55th point, you knew it was something special. Even as a player, that usually doesn't happen, but we're down so much at the time. You had time to realize the game. And his last shot, he said, in the trainer's lap, coming down the court, which meant it was going to be a three and it was going to be awful beats. And then he said, who wants it? And I think Ricky Brown, I'm not for sure who it was, ran out after him. And he shot this high rainbow. It goes in, Ricky bumps into him and accidentally knocks him on our trainer's lap. So it was exactly what he said. It was an accident, but it was almost fate. And they show a shot of our bench. Flip Liddy's and Eddie Johnston are standing up giving each other high five. It was pretty awesome. That night was not awesome. We had to go back to the room, and Mike Fratello, instead of going out to eat, he had a team meeting, and he put the film in. And he says, it's one thing to be in awe, it's another thing to cheer for the other team. And he showed this back and forth and kept rewinding the high five. It was awesome.
I'm sure that Danny Ainge has more Larry Bird stories than almost anyone else. I mean, he played with the guy for so long, won with him, and stuck around the locker room with him. And so, it's only fitting that he would know just how intense Bird got. Not only to other players, but to other coaches as well. It didn't necessarily surprise Bird's teammates because they knew what he was built of. But it was so out of the ordinary that it would have other teams in genuine shock.
My favorite trash talking by Larry, and Kevin was a pretty good trash talker too, but Larry was when they trash talk coaches, like when they trash talk Hubie Brown, and they're sitting there playing in Madison Square Garden, and he's just going like taking the ball out of bounds in front of their bench, so the whole bench can hear him,
right?
And go like, Hubie, this all you got for me tonight? Like you got no one else that can guard me? This is getting ridiculous, and then Hubie would put in like Johnny Newman would be running in the game. He goes, wait, are you serious? That's the guy you're putting on me? We loved it. But even the other bench, even Hubie's team in New York is like laughing at Bird's trash talking.
Next up, we have a story from Joe Klein, a Celtics center who played alongside Bird in the late 1980s. He described it as the funniest trash talk he ever saw Bird do, and it wasn't even directed at an opponent. The Celtics were in a rough stretch, a bunch of games packed close together, and the locker room before practice was completely dead. Nobody had any energy. Then Bird walked in with his gym bag over his shoulder, planted himself right over teammate Ed Pinckney's locker, and got his teammates fired up.
The other great memory I had, and I told him this earlier, it's my greatest memory in the NBA. I mean, I'm playing 15 minutes a game. Ed Pinckney's playing 15 minutes a game. And we'd come into Hellenic College and we'd sit in that little nasty locker room back there. And nobody felt like practicing. I mean, you could tell that the locker room was down and everybody's in there and it's just like, we've been 3 games and 4 nights or whatever. And Eddie Pinckney would be sitting there putting on his shoes, and Larry'd come in there and he'd have his bag over his shoulder and his gray sweats on. He'd stand over there and he'd stand right over Ed Pinckney every day, and he'd go, Ed Pinckney, I am gonna torture your ass today. And I mean, Bucky, and it was on. And then it was on. I'd start laughing and then Chief would look over there and go, what the hell are you laughing at? I'm gonna torture your ass too. And then it was on. And nobody felt like practicing, but he'd come in and just utter those little remarks and we'd have a great practice.
This story comes out of the Bird-Chuck-Person mini rivalry, which started when Person was a rookie, and Bird gave him some unsolicited advice that came wrapped in a dig. Typical Bird, friendly on the surface, but designed to needle. From there, every Celtics-Pacers matchup had an edge to it. But as former teammate Dee Brown tells the story, it boiled over in the 1991 first-round playoff series with a bit of an unconventional bet.
A personal one.
How about Chuck Person, D? He talked trash through that whole freaking series.
The Indiana series was great because...
Yeah, talk about that series, D.
Well, the Indiana series was great because that's when Chuck and Reggie Miller was coming up. They're like, okay, we're taking over. Like, we're the new team in the East. And Larry, again, he was, going through the back issues and trying to be healthy and was playing at a high level. And, the rifleman, he had all the, the antics and things like that. And Larry was like, listen, I'm going to tell you this. I'm the baddest man to come out of Indiana. Like you just hold in place right now. And if I win this series, you're going to have to mow my grass at the end of the series. He's like, I'm like, okay, mow grass. This is the kind of bet we talking about now. He's like, you're going to come to my house and mow my grass and we win this series. And I think Chuck was like, yeah, man, we ain't losing this series. We won the series. So I don't know if he paid his dues and came and mowed the grass. But him and Chuck would go at it. It was unbelievable. He would terrorize guys in practices, like terrorize guys in practices, like
Larry would.
Yeah, like terrorize, like to the point, and to the point where, like Larry, you got to sit out right now because this dude ain't gonna be the same tomorrow. He ain't gonna be the same. But we need him for tomorrow, man. Like, ladies. He was always on 1,000. And that's what great competitors do. Like when you're on the court, it's not like, okay, this is just practice, it's the games. This is competition. So you ain't gonna make no reputation off me.
Joe Dumars spent his entire Hall of Fame career as a Detroit Piston, going toe-to-toe with the Boston Celtics during the most heated rivalry of the 1980s. He guarded some of the toughest scorers the league has ever seen, and he was no stranger to Larry Bird's competitive edge. So when Dumars talks about what made Bird different from everyone else, it carries weight. He's not describing a guy who just made shots. He's describing someone who saw the game on a completely different level than the players around him.
It's the toughest arena you had to play in. And I said, Garden, Boston. And so why? Because of the air conditioning, they turn it on in the winter and they turn the heat on in the summer. I said, yeah, all of that. I said, but please, let's not forget how incredible Bird and the Celtics were in their prime. I said, they were almost impossible to go in there and beat. And they said, why? I said, because you could not make a mistake with them. If you turn your head or you don't rotate right on time or whatever it was, those guys made you play. And it was him. Like he was a savant on the court, like just a savant, like 2 plays ahead on everything. And so I was just talking about this maybe 3 or 4 days ago, how hard it was to go into Boston and beat a team when Bird is in his prime.
And then you had the inbounds pass that Bird steals that.
That goes back to my savant statement. Like just knowing where to be, seeing what's happening, and anticipating, and boom, he jumps right in and steals the ball.
Shawn Kemp came into the NBA in 1989 as one of the most physically gifted rookies the league had seen in years. 6'10", explosive, with the kind of athleticism that made coaches and scouts do double takes. He was from Elkhart, Indiana, the same state that produced Larry Bird, and he knew the name. He had heard the stories. He had even broken Bird's high school scoring records and dunked on Bird's younger brother Eddie growing up. So when the Seattle Supersonics headed to Boston Garden in December of that year, Kemp figured he at least knew what he was walking into. He did not.
X-Man told a story on Tim Thomas and Scoop B's podcast about Larry Bird talking shit to you, saying, I'm the best motherfucker in Indiana. Put a 3 under my balls. That's true?
It is very true, man. Larry, hey, man, first of all, we got to Boston that night. He had some knee pain. I was like, it's a hell of a time for you to come over with a knee pain. I ain't going tonight. You got it.
Yeah, you don't want to see that.
Yeah, then I look at the boy, Sean Kemp, Larry Bird. I'm like, so, I look in the mirror, I'm like, well, shit, man, I'm about to get this motherfucker fits out here tonight. So before the game, I was over there rubbing my hands looking at him like, I'm about to get your ass, man.
What year was this for you?
This was my first year.
Oh, okay.
And that day, that morning they came out with a USA Today article, and they said that Larry didn't have it no more. So he came out that night to make a statement, and I was just the prime candidate to be Before the game, he told me, he was like, he just shook his head at me. He said, man, it's going to be a fucked up night for you.
So what did he put up?
I think he gave me 46 and 3.
What'd you do?
Man, I hadn't found out, but I was on his ass. I'm gonna tell y'all this, man. I'm gonna tell you this, man. I was on. He was actually calling out bank shots. He would say, next time, bank shot left side. I'm gonna pump fake you. Your dumb ass gonna go for it.
In the 1980s, Magic Johnson ran the most exclusive pickup basketball games in the country out of UCLA. The best players in the world showed up during the offseason. Current stars, future Hall of Famers, all competing in a gym that had no cameras, no press, and no stakes beyond pride. Reggie Miller, who played his college ball at UCLA, had a front row seat to these runs and describes them as some of the most incredible basketball he ever witnessed. Magic set the tone. Everyone knew the rules. You showed up, you competed, and you earned your spot. And then one summer, Larry Bird walked in.
Man,
the Lakers always stayed on the winning court.
No matter what.
Max,
No matter what.
he could go to a hole and be wide open and miss the layup. Oh, woo! You're like,
He
are
calling
you
fouls for
kidding
his
me?
teammates. He don't even call them foul. He call it for his teammates. If like you said, if Max would have missed the shot, he was on. No, that's a foul. Bring that back, yo, fella. Bring that back.
And the only time this didn't happen, it was one magical. I don't know how this happened. Oh, I do actually know how it happened. It was the first year of Magic's Midsummer's Night's game, the very first year, and it was in Pauley Pavilion before it moved to the Forum. And he had everyone because it was the first year. And Larry came out. And before that game actually happened, so Larry was out maybe 2 days ahead of time for these pickup runs. And Larry walks in, right? So you have the Lakers, you have the selection of pro players, UCLA A and B team. So of course Larry says, all right, I want to be on that, selection of pro teams. And everyone's like, oh my God, Larry, Magic. They didn't like,
Yeah.
that was the first time I saw Buck like, okay. There ain't gonna be none of this bullshit you're calling on today.
Right. Yeah.
Because Larry was like,
Larry wasn't having it.
Larry wasn't having it. Larry was not having it. And it was like, there's no footage. No one knows.
Had to be there.
Oh my God, some of the passes and then Coop and Larry really didn't like one another. I mean, really didn't like one another. No, I got him. Coop, I got him. I want him. I'm like, oh, this is what I was learning.
Right,
This
that's
is
crazy.
This is all going into the DNA. This is what.
The Corner 3 story is one of the most told Larry Bird stories in NBA history. If you have spent any time watching basketball content online, you have probably heard some version of it. Bird calling his spot before the play, Dennis Johnson getting him the ball, the shot going in to win the game. It has been told by Kevin McHale, by Byron Scott, by Danny Ainge. It has been referenced in documentaries. It lives in the permanent mythology of the sport. But here we have Kevin Garnett, who has heard the account from player after player, who played against the players who got punked by him, and who has learned enough to know what Larry Bird was all about.
I've heard Larry would tell you straight up, hey, it's 5 seconds on the clock. I'm going to be in that left corner. DJ is going to pass the ball to me. They're going to get it to me. I'm going to bust your ass and we're going to win. Is that the truth?
Yeah, I didn't get to play with Larry Bird, but I heard all the dope stories, and his reputation is what you hear is what it was. You know, Larry Bird, them two came from, and then you understand early 80s, late 80s, early 90s, those were some different years in the league. Guys were very physical. That's fighting and really just another level of physicality was into the game. You know, when we got late 90s, I think they had thinned it out a little bit. It was still physical, but it wasn't as physical as the 80s. But Larry Bird was one of them ones that talked a lot of shit, but he can definitely back it up. Back it up with play, back it up with mindset. You know what I'm saying? It was just different.
What all of these stories have in common is that nobody saw it coming, not the first time. Nobody walked onto that court fully prepared for what Larry Bird actually was. Not the rookies, not the veterans, not the all-stars who had been in the league for a decade. They all had to find out for themselves, and they all found out the same way. On the floor, in the middle of a game, with Bird telling them exactly what was about to happen before it did. That is what separates these stories from regular basketball highlights. It was never just about the shots. It was the combination, the production, the words, the timing, the accuracy that made the whole thing feel like something out of a movie. Except it happened in real life, in real gyms, to real players who still talk about it decades later, like the memory has never faded. Bird retired in 1992, but the stories never stopped coming. Every few years, another player sits down on a podcast, gets asked about the toughest opponent they ever faced, and goes right back to the same place, same gym, same moment, same feeling of standing there, knowing what was coming, and being completely powerless to stop it. That is the legacy of Larry Legend. Not just what he did on the court, but what he made people feel, and how long he made them remember it. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share the episode if you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next one.